The human body requires energy, just like a phone. You know your phone needs to be charged regularly, and the same thing is true about your body. Of course, when you connect your phone to an energy source, it has to be compatible or it won't charge. Just like your phone, your body needs the right type of energy to perform at its optimal level. When you think of a reservoir, the image that often comes to mind is a large pool or a lake where resources can be stored, usually water. Because of its size, a reservoir allows for plenty of storage. Now, picture that reservoir idea for a moment while we talk about fat. Fat is an energy source which has tremendous storage capacity in the human body. And although you may not see the fat, it's abundant in the body from head to toe. It acts like the water reservoir we talked about. The human body holds on to fat so it can convert it into energy later. For example, when you exercise, your muscles need energy from both carbohydrates and fats. Carbohydrates are only stored in the liver and muscle tissue, but fats are stored throughout the entire body, primarily under the skin and the subcutaneous tissues. Now, this allows for a deep reservoir of energy. It's plenty to charge the body, but it's just like a phone charger. It's only useful if it's compatible for optimal performance. The body can only store a few thousand calories of carbohydrates at any given time. Now, fat storage, on the other hand, is basically unlimited, providing hundreds of thousands of calories. Now, I think you get the idea how the human body stores energy as fat. But what about the fat that we eat? Well, there are good and bad sources of fat, and the ones we choose determine the power of our reservoir. Now, before we get into all that, let's break down the number of ways fat functions in the human body. It creates this large reservoir of energy that we discussed. It supports the absorption of certain vitamins and nutrients in our diet. It makes up an important part of the body's cells called the cell membrane. And it insulates and protects the body's organs and tissues. You've heard the phrase, "you are what you eat." That's really appropriate when discussing dietary fat, because the fat in our foods comes from plants or animals. But it's really the quality of that fat that contributes to our overall health. First, let's talk about trans fats. Now, there are two types, natural and artificial. Natural trans fats are found in small amounts in meat and dairy products. They're not considered healthy fats, but they're not as bad as the artificial ones. Artificial trans fats are especially bad because they cause a lot of harm to the human body. Just to paint a picture, these chemically modified trans fats are vegetable oils that are heated to very high temperatures and exposed to something called a catalyst, which is metal. This artificial chemical reaction makes the fat more resistant to oxidation, so the fat won't go rancid. This makes things like oils very shelf-stable. These fats are common in fried fast food, creamy salad dressings, and processed baked goods. But they're artificial and really unhealthy, so it's best to avoid trans fats whenever possible. Remember, if they're not compatible for optimal charging, not a good form of energy to store in your reservoir. Now let's talk about naturally occurring fats, which are good and bad. When it comes to good and bad fats, we often consider the saturated fats as bad and the unsaturated fats as good. Saturated simply means stable at room temperature. So think of butter. If you remove butter from the refrigerator, place it on the kitchen table all day, it stays solid. Unsaturated fats, on the other hand, are liquid at room temperature. So let's discuss these saturated fats, which are widely considered to be bad fats. Now, if you've ever seen bacon grease when it's cooled off and turned solid, then you know what saturated fat looks like. This fat is found in red meat, whole milk, cheese, and butter. When you eat a lot of saturated fats, they can increase your total cholesterol and your LDL, which is the bad cholesterol that contributes to cardiovascular issues. Okay, so those are the saturated fats, which are bad, and they should be kept to a minimum in our diet. Again, not the best way to charge your body, or not the best way to add energy to your reservoir. Now for the good fats, which are unsaturated. There are two types of these unsaturated fats, monounsaturated and polyunsaturated. Monounsaturated fats are found in olive oil, avocados, most nuts, and sunflower oil. These types of fats became widely known with the popularity of the Mediterranean diet. The second type of good fats are the polyunsaturated. Polyunsaturated fats are especially important because they are essential, meaning that the body does not produce them, so we need to eat them on a regular basis. Within this category of good polyunsaturated fats, there are two types, the omega-3s and the omega-6s. Omega-3 fats are found in ocean-caught fish, seaweed, flaxseed, and chia seeds, while the omega-6 fats are found in walnuts, sunflower seeds, and canola oil, as well as other vegetable oils. Now remember that we need both of these fats. They are essential, but we should eat them in the right proportions. That's the best way to charge our bodies and fill our reservoirs with the right type of energy. The modern Western diet has a very high proportion of omega-6s relative to omega-3s. So to offset this imbalance in the modern diet, remember to increase your omega-3s and reduce your omega-6s. That helps to maintain a healthy balance between these good fats. Remember the phrase, "you are what you eat"? Well, that applies to the balance of fats in your diet. Now let's go back to that image of a huge reservoir of energy storage in the body. If you're constantly eating fats that promote oxidation, they'll get deposited into your fat reservoir, which can throw your whole body off balance. If you eat the right proportion of good fats, your body will have a healthy source of energy stored. And that's how you can charge up your body with the energy most compatible for you.